All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about the Dallas Cowboys in this video, even though I know this is a primarily a Seahawks channel. I was just reading up on some NFL news, and this morning when I was watching some of the sports media, they were talking about how Dak Prescott wants to go and get his doctorate in psychology eventually, whether it's during an offseason or when he's done during football. And just that little phrase, it had me kind of Dak Prescott wanted me to do that. It kind of reminded me of Russell Wilson a little bit. I know Russell Wilson didn't really say anything like he wanted to do that, but it reminded me of the drive that Russell Wilson had after his rookie season. Obviously he had it during his rookie season, but after his rookie season, going into the second year in the NFL, which is obviously what Dak Prescott's going to be doing this year, it reminded me a lot of that. And I kind of started to think to myself, I started to remember back to 2013 and 2014 Seattle Seahawks season, which, as you guys know, is the year that the Seahawks won the Super Bowl against the Broncos. And that was Russell Wilson's second year in the league. And this upcoming season is going to be Dak Prescott's second year in the league. And I started to kind of look into the Dallas Cowboys a little bit more. I started to look a little bit more at their draft and at their schedule. And I started to think to myself, this team reminds me a lot of the Seattle Seahawks team from 2013. Primarily not necessarily with the defense. The defense got a lot better, especially with the draft. Like, the Cowboys drafted, I believe, 4 corners, 2 defensive tackles, a safety, a wide receiver, and a defensive end. They drafted a lot of defense this past draft, and like I said, they drafted 3 corners and a safety. So, and they could always move that safety to a corner because the big need on the Cowboys was for their defense. And Dez Bryant, who missed, I believe it was 7 or 8 games last season, if he stays healthy all year, they'll be even better. A lot of people keep talking about, oh, what if Dak Prescott has a sophomore slump? I'm gonna be honest with you here. I really do, and I'll even go through the Cowboys schedule in a second. I really do believe that the Dallas Cowboys of this upcoming season could be like the Seattle Seahawks in the 2013 season, because they got a great running back, just like the Seahawks had with Marshawn Lynch. The Cowboys got Ezekiel Elliott, which I believe is just going to be as good, if not better, than he was last season. Their offensive line still intact. They got Dak Prescott, who I don't think is going to have a sophomore slump. I still think he's going to be great. And I just want to go through their schedule a little bit here. Now, I hope they don't make it to the Super Bowl, obviously, because I'm really pulling for the Seahawks to go. But the people that think that the Cowboys are going to just dip off and fall off a cliff, it's not going to happen. The Cowboys have been getting good for quite some time, and if it wasn't for Tony Romo basically being injured all of 2015, they would have. You remember the 2014 season and 2013 season. The Tony Romo. Once that team started to finally become good, they fell off a cliff. The Cowboys have been a really good team here for probably the last 4 years. The problem is just Tony Romo's health. But now that they have a quarterback who hopefully stays healthy, I think they'll really be able to make some noise and make the NFC Championship this year. I hope not the Super Bowl, because I want to see the Seahawks represent the NFC. But to go through their schedule here, they open up the season at home against the New York Giants, like they do quite often. Honestly, I think they take this game. The Giants, I think, are going to be much improved. And I think it's going to be a really good game. And this is a Sunday night game, and it's going to be really great to kick off the season. But I think the Cowboys take that game. Then the second week 2, they're going to travel to Denver to play the Broncos. Now, this game can go. I really do think either way. It really depends how the Broncos play this year. The Broncos finished 8-8 last year. They weren't. I don't want to say they necessarily had a. I guess you can say they had a Super Bowl hangover, but it's not that their defense got worse or even their. They had a different quarterback. They got rid of Brock Osweiler, who went to the Texans, even though he didn't really do much. They kind of had a different offensive team that year, and their defense wasn't as good. But I don't think the Broncos are going to be terrible this season. I think the Broncos can actually win maybe 10 games this season, although the AFC West is going to be tough. I think the Cowboys can actually take that game in Denver. Then the Cowboys travel to Arizona to play the Cardinals. That's going to be another tough one, because I really do think the Cardinals are going to be improved. I actually think, and that's a Monday night game, I actually think the Cardinals take that game. So that's one loss for the Cowboys. Then the Cowboys come back to Dallas to play the Rams. I think they beat the Rams. This is another good one. After they beat the Rams, they're also playing still in Dallas here. They play the Green Bay Packers, which I actually also think they'll beat the Packers. I almost did it last year in the playoffs, and I think they're going to get revenge and beat them this year. Then they travel to San Fran to play the 49ers. I think they beat the 49ers. Then they travel to Washington to play the Redskins. This is going to be tough, because I think the Redskins are going to be much improved this year. Last year they really just kind of they had the playoff spot, and they just gave it away. The Redskins, I don't think they're going to make that same mistake again. I think this will be a tough game. They're playing in Washington. honestly, I think the Cowboys can take that game too. So still, honestly, we're at 1 loss here. Then they come back to Dallas to play the Kansas City Chiefs, which I think will be a great game. The Chiefs are going to be really great this year, like they've been the last few years, and I think Dallas takes that game too. Then they'll travel to Atlanta, which I do think they will lose to the Falcons. I don't think the Falcons are going to have what Carolina had when they lost Super Bowl. I don't think the Falcons are going to just fall off a cliff. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Falcons are going to be really motivated, and they're going to be great again next season. And I do think the Cowboys lose to the Falcons in Atlanta. Then the Cowboys travel to Philly to play the Eagles for the first time. This is going to be a great game too, because I also think, the two divisions I really like this upcoming year. Well, actually 3. I like the AFC South because I think all 4 of those teams are going to be much more improved. And if J.J. Watt can stay healthy, the Texans are going to be even more monstrous on defense. I like the AFC West, and I like the NFC East. And obviously this division's the NFC East. When they travel to Philly to play the Eagles, I think they take that game too. Then they travel... No, I'm sorry. They're playing in Dallas when they play the Eagles. I do think they take that game in Dallas. Then they're also at home the week after. I believe this is this is the Thanksgiving game right here. They play the Chargers, and I do believe they take that game too. Then also at home, these are 3 straight home games for the Dallas Cowboys. They play the Redskins again, who I also think they beat again. And then they travel to New York to play the Giants, which I think they lose. So there's their 3rd loss right there. And then they play the Raiders, which is going to be really tough. And depending on how the Raiders play this season, I think the Raiders are going to be really good this season, but I do think the Cowboys take that game. As much as this kills me when they play the Seahawks in Dallas, I do think they beat us. And then they close out the season against the Eagles, and I do think they beat the Eagles. I think the Cowboys finish the season with a 13-3 record. If they were to finish with 12-4, I could see a 4th loss coming against the Redskins on November 30th when they have that 3-game home stretch, the last game of that home game stretch when they face the Redskins. I can see them losing that game. But I don't think they will. So the teams I see them losing to the Cardinals in Arizona, to the Giants and New York, and to the Falcons and Atlanta. So I do see them winning all 8 of their home games. Like I said, though, one of their home games I could see them losing. I could see them losing November 30th against the Washington Redskins. But I do think this is going to be a very interesting season for the Cowboys because while they got a lot better on defense, I think obviously, every team that they're going to be playing, and especially the NFC East, they've had an entire year to study Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott and all that stuff. I do not think the Cowboys are going to fall off a cliff, though, and I think that just this team and everything I'm seeing around it and just how motivated Dak Prescott seems to be, he reminds me a lot of Russell Wilson. I don't think he is. He doesn't have the same scramble abilities and even really that great of an arm as Russell Wilson has, but everything else about him. He's still a very accurate quarterback. He makes very good decisions. He only threw 4 interceptions last season, I believe it was. He, just like Russell Wilson, does not like to turn the ball over. He's very, very cautious about it. A lot of people said, oh, he's a game manager, he's a rookie. That's kind of how all rookie quarterbacks are supposed to play. You're still kind of handcuffed. They're not going to open the entire playbook for you. This upcoming season, I think the Dallas Cowboys are going to be really scary. And like I said, I hope they're not exactly like the 2013 Seattle Seahawks because I would love to see the Seahawks in this year's Super Bowl. But the Cowboys, I really do think, are going to be really good this year, and I'm really looking forward to watching them play because it's one of those things. For whatever reason, I've never been interested in the Cowboys. I never understood why they were America's team. But this last season with Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott were there, they were just too damn good not to love. Every time they were on, you just, whether it was a primetime game or if it was just some Fox game of the week game, you were watching them. They were just unbelievable and really great last season to watch, and I think they're going to continue that to this next season and finish with a 13-3 record. Anyway, let me know what you guys think the Cowboys are going to do this season. Let me know if you agree with me because, like I said, I really just, when I look at the Dallas Cowboys this year, I see the 2013 Seattle Seahawks. Not exactly, like I said, not with the defense. They don't have as great of a defense as Seattle had, but just everything else, all the mantra, the chemistry those players seem to have with their young players. They're Ezekiel Elliott going to a second season, Dak Prescott going to a second season. I think it's going to be a really great season to watch. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. I'd like to thank you all for watching this video, and go Hawks.